He was born Malcolm Little, but the world would come to know him as Malcolm X, a voice for the voiceless, a fearless fighter for justice, and one of the most influential figures in modern Black and Muslim history. Born in 1925 in Omaha, Nebraska, Malcolm was the son of a Baptist preacher, Reverend Earl Little, and his wife Louise, both active members of Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association. Early on, Malcolm's family faced the harsh hand of white supremacy. The Ku Klux Klan forced them to flee Nebraska and resettle in Lansing, Michigan. But their challenges didn't end there. When Malcolm was just 6 years old, his father died under suspicious circumstances, widely believed to be the work of white supremacists. His mother, overwhelmed with grief and the burden of raising 9 children, suffered a mental breakdown and was institutionalized. Malcolm and his siblings were placed in foster homes. Despite these early setbacks, Malcolm excelled at school, until a white teacher told him becoming a lawyer was not realistic for a Black boy. That moment shattered his confidence in the American education system. He dropped out of school and eventually moved to Boston, where he began to see a different kind of struggle. In the streets of Boston and Harlem, Malcolm saw the effects of systemic oppression. Disillusioned by Black complacency and drawn to the excitement of street life, he became a hustler, a gambler, and a gang leader. Known as Detroit Red for his hair, he immersed himself in a dangerous lifestyle of drugs and crime. But his downfall came swiftly. In 1946, Malcolm was arrested for armed robbery and sentenced to 6 years in prison. It was there, behind bars, that Malcolm X was born. Scene shifts, prison library, dim light, turning pages. In prison, Malcolm transformed. He read voraciously, books on history, religion, philosophy, and culture. He began wearing glasses, a symbol of his new vision for life. Most importantly, he was introduced to the teachings of Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam was more than a religion. It was a movement for Black empowerment, pride, and resistance. To Malcolm, Elijah Muhammad's message, that white people were devils and that Black people must rise and reclaim their dignity, resonated deeply. Released in 1952, Malcolm joined the Nation and quickly rose through the ranks. His fiery speeches, sharp intellect, and magnetic presence made him a national spokesman. From a handful of temples, the Nation grew into a mass movement under Malcolm's leadership, boasting over 100,000 members and 40 temples across the U.S. He toured Harlem, Detroit, Boston, and beyond, bringing a message of Black pride, self-reliance, and defiance in the face of white supremacy. His speeches were electric, his presence undeniable. He became a symbol of uncompromising Black resistance. But with fame came enemies. Mainstream America painted him as a dangerous radical. Critics labeled him the angriest Black man in America, and even within the Nation of Islam, tension was rising. Malcolm's growing political involvement clashed with Elijah Muhammad's apolitical stance. Then came the breaking point. When President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1963, Malcolm's controversial comment, "Chickens coming home to roost," angered many, including Elijah. He was silenced, suspended from public speaking. Worse, Malcolm uncovered allegations of financial misconduct and sexual immorality within the nation's leadership. Disillusioned and betrayed, he made a monumental decision. He left the Nation of Islam. In 1964, he founded 2 organizations, Muslim Mosque, Inc. or Cow, religious, Organization of Afro-American Unity, political. That same year, Malcolm performed the Hajj, the sacred pilgrimage to Mecca. There he saw Muslims of all races, praying, eating, and living together as equals. It was a revelation. The racial version of Islam taught by the Nation was shattered. He returned from Mecca transformed, no longer Malcolm X, but El Hajj Malik el-Shabazz. He embraced mainstream Islam and began preaching a message of racial and religious unity. His voice evolved, from one of racial separation to one of global human rights. He wrote letters from Mecca describing this new vision. He saw Islam not just as a religion, but as a solution, a unifier of the human race. Back in America, he became more international in his focus, advocating for third world liberation, economic justice, and universal human rights. He worked tirelessly to build bridges, foster unity, and speak truth to power. But time was running out. On February 21, 1965, just 3 months shy of his 40th birthday, Malcolm X was assassinated while speaking at the Audubon Ballroom in New York. 3 members of the Nation of Islam were convicted, but many believe the CIA or FBI may have also played a role. Published posthumously, the autobiography of Malcolm X remains one of the most powerful works in American literature, a testament to transformation, truth, and the fight for dignity. Malcolm X was many things: a street hustler, a preacher, a political voice, a revolutionary, a pilgrim, and finally, a global human rights leader. His life was cut short, but his impact echoes through time. He taught us that transformation is possible, that knowledge is power, that dignity is non-negotiable. He was not just a man, he was a movement. If Malcolm X's journey moved you, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of courage, conviction, and change.